management unit is most negatively impacted by the plan change that we're talking about. So there's, like you say, a principle or an issue that I would think probably stand out for you. And that is particularly in terms of combined overall reductions in value added in terms of product, production, employment, and export generation. So page 2, I note that this community does have some what I would call unique characteristics that when there's a significant change like this that we need to consider. Like, for example, how does the community of Tokoroa and the associated impacts that may come from a tightening of a raw package on farming, how are some of the support industries and wider community impacted? I just note there that the modelling approach that has been applied through the CSG and the Technical Alliance that prepared the plan change in partnership with the Regional Council, they used an input-output modelling approach, and there are other modelling versions or approaches available. The potential limitations of that modelling approach are an area that we could look at. Does that actually, for example, go down to a level that's detailed enough to give us a feel for what the impacts are on our district? Particularly in the reporting around economic impact, one of the underlying elements of any reporting that's available is the level of iwi land development that occurs in the catchment. So there are significant amounts of iwi land in the total catchment that we're talking about, and each of the potential economic impacts scenarios models from a level of no iwi land development right through to high levels of iwi land development, because the amount of development that occurs on that land has an impact on the economic impact on the wider catchment. So one area that we could potentially get a greater understanding of our district economic impact is what's the potential level of development of that land likely to be within our district area. So just in terms of potential economic impacts on the Upper Waikato freshwater management unit, and this is relative to business as usual without the plan change. The estimates are sort of between a $9 and $37 million loss in value added income. A potential increase across the scenarios of land development from an increase of 4 jobs in the management unit up to a loss of around 379 jobs. And the potential impact on international exports ranging from a loss of $1 million to a gain of about $2 million. So in terms of the dollar numbers, if you combine those value-added impacts and the export impacts, we're talking about sort of $10 to $35 million. And that potentially up to 380 employment equivalents or jobs, if you like. Region-wide, there's some data there. I'll probably let you read that, although I guess I would say that in terms of the modelling that these specialists have done, ranging between 75 and 184 million for the region, sort of the 300 to 900 job losses. And then the New Zealand-wide impacts are potentially even larger than that. So they're talking $100 to $300 million impact. Quite significant impacts on employment. Just on page 3 there, and this is a specific extract of Dawn McDonald's report on economic impacts. Some of the things that come through, there is a prediction to have significant detrimental impacts on value-added employment in the dairy sector, and this is specific to the Upper Waikato freshwater management unit in which we sit that I'm talking now. But it's predicted to lead to more jobs in forestry and wood and paper manufacturing. And that's all relative to our business as usual setting. And so we have between 440 jobs predicted to be lost in the dairy sector alone over those 4 scenarios. But then that potential job loss is offset by some gains in employment in the wood forestry sector, for example. I just attention. The report authors say that the findings reflect that while the economic impacts of the proposed policy mix are relatively benign at the catchment level, so that's for the whole river, Waikato River catchment level, they are significant in terms of the Upper Waikato freshwater management unit compared to the business as usual case. And that's because of the significant economic benefits associated with broad-scale forest to dairy conversion that was predicted to occur in this catchment in the absence of the plan change. So you can start to see some potential themes there around the impacts of likely to occur. I just noted there, I'm not going to talk about Mr. Anderson's area of specialty, but with the higher point source discharge is an overall reduction in nutrients that we're looking to achieve in terms of environmental benefit. That there will be some impact on the cost of any wastewater upgrading. Just one area that we may look at, Chief Executive and I have discussed briefly, is what sort of high links or impacts are there between Plan Change 1 and the broader Waikato plan, which is about the reduction of the region. That's probably the points that I'd just like to highlight there. I hope it's a fairly complex area and a little difficult I found to summarise in a way that doesn't need critical information in terms of how that modelling was generated. But I hope you found, seen that there's some themes there that if you wanted to, that we could have a closer look at to try and get a better understanding of what the impact is of just the district. I would just say too that environmental improvement is just something that we have to do these days. And it's a good intent and a good goal, but I think particularly for a district like this that does have some significant challenges around population decline, for example, and the ability of communities in terms of deprivation or relative deprivation, that we need to have a good understanding of what the impact will be.
Thank you. Now, Councillor Glenwine, you had a comment.
Thank you, excuse me. Listening to your presentation, so many thoughts come to mind. I asked this morning, will the Regional Council look at perhaps demonstration farms and trying to develop ideas? I can see at a district level how that could be beneficial. I went to a Dairy NZ presentation about a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, and I asked there about standoff pads and about wintering facilities and so on, and their immediate reaction was almost all farmers then intensify. So they take stock of the land during the winter time, but then they put more cows on. And the two don't necessarily need to go together. And over the years we have been told so many times, if you can somehow take the stock off the land during May, June, July, during the wet period, then you decrease your leaching by about 40%. So, you know, that is the kind of thing that would easily come within the requirement in the first 10 years. So I would strongly advocate that we try and talk to as many people as possible in the NZ. I think there are real interest in this, and try and get our feet around how can we help the rural people here to make improvements. George Moss in Pateru, he acknowledged that the people harvested will be the dry stock farmers, and we don't have a great number of dry stock farmers in our district, but dry stock farmers under this rule are locked into what they are doing now. They can't intensify. And if I look at how an economy works, over the years, people come up with all kinds of changes. That is what grows in our district. If we can't grow anymore, then we stop economic development. So, you know, again, for that reason, I would strongly advocate that we try and work with as many people hold you to it, right? But, you know, we could say, talk to a farmer or a couple of farmers and ask, what can you do on your farm to decrease loss of nitrogen by a similar or hopefully greater amount?
So thank you. We should have a couple of things here from your report, Mr. Marshall. So, when we look at Canberra, you might be surprised coming from a dairy farm. Look at our logo. Look what we stare at the front of the council chamber. It is what? A pine tree. We talk about employment and economic development. If this mill down here doesn't get the logs it needs, we are really in the cactus. So I am pleased, Sam, that you come up with, look, we've got to make, you said that there were more jobs in water and wood process. Well, how many? You know, we need to know that information and make sure that we get a balanced view of this thing. There's a whole lot of, you know, opportunities to do that, and if we, that's what I sort of gave to regional council this morning, we need both, and the reality is, you know, that with jobs, Fonterra's new facility here in our district, they will be bringing in milk from Taupo all over the Waikato because it's leading edge. We're going to lose no jobs up there at all. But people in Reparoa might, because their factory might get closed. So I think that's locked in. We need to really, you know, lobby and make sure that our timber and forestry industry is protected, because that's actually our identity, and while we need to make sure that the dairy farmers' interests are looked after, and in terms of going back to sort of how the flavour of our submission and the economic issues will be to the fore, I think we most certainly should hear from George Moss. He's an excellent speaker, but he was on the consultative group representing dairy farmers only. Why don't we get someone from OG or the forestry industry? Or the other thing that we haven't considered is the benefits to tourism of having a healthy river. Now, I've been put on the Waikato River Trail, so I've had a briefing with Glyn. Just, you know, that has got the potential in the next little while to really fire up now. So we should be saying in our submission, we support clean water in the river. We support, we have to say surely that it is in our district interest to have logs available for our biggest, you know, our biggest supply, surely, you know, and the more that, so woody vegetation can't be taken off anymore. Well, yes, it has a lot of dairy consequences, you've said that, but it's fantastic for the mill, isn't it? I mean, they need, the closer the logs are to the thing, they have to bring them in from Taranaki, bringing them in on trains from Northland. We're in a bit of a thing, so we have to think it's all very well and good, and I am a dairy farmer, so I'm not conflicting myself here. We have to be very careful to make sure that the balance of that timber industry, potential tourism from the river trails, because the tourists won't come if the river's a sewer, let's be clear, you know, this 80-year thing is a good idea. So that's sort of my thoughts on the, yes, get the numbers down, but make sure that tourism jobs, forestry jobs, and we are protecting our biggest employer, which is 5 minutes up the road, all your good mates, Thomas. You know, I think that's really important. We need to make sure that they, and the availability of logs, because without that, we're really in the cactus, aren't we?
So just to give you, all I'm doing here is giving you the information that's available on the website. To answer your question, and I want to note too that the reporting uses something called modified employment counts, which is actually a more accurate measure of like jobs, if you like. But in terms of the wood and paper manufacturing sector, the impact of this plan change is estimated to be an increase of 1 job up to potentially 34. And so the dairy sector, you know, talking potential loss of 40 to up to 400 jobs.
So it would be interesting to ask OG how they see the availability of logs, because if that plant becomes unviable due to availability of, as we're probably years away from that, but locking in the forest area in this district now is a good thing. They might have a view on that. We should hear that. You know, that would be interesting.
Thank you for that. No, thank you very much. No, they're a good thing to talk about. I think actually that's quite a reasonable comment if we get George Mawson and perhaps somebody from the timber industry as well, just to give us all the comments and all the thoughts about it. Although I know that in I think I've said this before, 2020 or 23, that the actual the cut in our district is going to double. So yeah, then the impacts of that further down the track as well.
Just a point, I think, I can't remember when it was some time ago, we had a breakfast meeting with business leaders, shopkeepers and everything, and Ian White, the Kinleaf Mill manager, was there, and some discussion on land use took place, and he readily conceded that some land that had been converted from forestry to farming probably wasn't a good idea, and vice versa, and that certainly more cooperation would be needed in the future, and certainly more cooperation on these healthy rivers plans and things would be a good idea. So I think it may be an appropriate time, possibly not immediately before Christmas, depending on people's programs, but it would certainly be good to get him in the room with somebody like George Moss and have a round table debate with them and get their views.
I think the submission has to be in March, is that week, 18th of March or something, so perhaps we have got a wee bit of time in the new year.
Early January if we can, if we start
We
setting
have
up.
to work on the staff and start sorting it out now. Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for that slide on it. Got a lot to think about, and I think it actually confirms that I think the workshop is a good idea where we can really put all this out in front of us rather than just these sort of little bits coming here and there. All right? So we